Welcome back to the channel. And today's episode is bodybuilding on a budget. So basically, trying to find ways that you can still easily build muscle in the cheapest way possible. Now, the ways that I'm going to mention don't sacrifice any macronutrients or any micronutrients if you stay till the end. And yeah, I'll show you a full plan to do it in the cheapest way that I have found to be possible. Now, before I start on the actual food items, I first want to just preface this by saying that there is a practice you can do. You don't have to, but it is advisable, especially if you are on a budget or you're just trying to spend as little amount on food as possible. And that would be intermittent fasting. So it's preferably advised to skip breakfast because it's the easiest one to do. No one likes to go to bed hungry. So if you do like a 8-hour eating interval with a 6-hour fasting interval that includes sleep, luckily, then you can eat from 12 o'clock, which will be about lunchtime, when most people get their lunch break, till about 8 o'clock, and most people should be done dinner eating by about 8 o'clock. Obviously some people will be a bit later, but if you stay relatively within that time frame of eating only at 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you'll be doing intermittent fasting. And that'll be 16 hours of fasting. And why this is actually good is, contrary to popular belief, intermittent fasting is a way to spike human growth hormone, which spares muscle, which is important, enhances recovery, also makes your skin look better, just overall health benefits. But also fasting itself actually activates the initial periods of fasting, activates muscle sparing effects. So you can technically get away with sparing muscle within those crucial periods until you do eat. And because you've waited so long, the things that you do eat are absorbed much more efficiently because the receptors aren't overburdened with the stimuli of digesting and absorbing nutrients. So when you do get nutrients, those nutrients are all going to be used and very effectively and efficiently. Some people have even said they can get away with eating less calories a day and still be making the same gains or even more by adopting an intermittent fasting practice, because the stuff that they do eat actually are used by their body completely. So you can adopt such a practice. If you don't want to skip breakfast, you can just use some of these meal items in double. Now, the first item is the traditional breakfast item, ironically, and that is oats. So oats, everyone's familiar with it, but there has literally been nothing else I have found that has the nutritional value that it has, in terms of protein. I mean, it has good amounts of protein in it, actually. Not a complete protein, but it's good. Amounts of energy, amounts of calories it provides, amounts of carbs it provides for glycogen storage and stuff like that. I have not found anything else that is easy to prep, easy to make, especially as a breakfast / brunch kind of item that actually compares to this. Nutritionally, I will struggle to find anything better than this. You will struggle to find something better than this. So oats, always a good one. A pro tip would be, if you do have money to spare, buy one of those big tubs of peanut butter. They're very expensive initially, but one of those big tubs, if you use it sparingly, can last you a whole month. So that'll be a month's supply of peanut butter that you get, and you use it sparingly. And that also will add tons of calories and up the protein intake of this oats here. So that's also a good replacement for sugar. You don't exactly want to be piling sugar and spiking being hyperglycemic and then hypoglycemic just 2 hours after. Those blood sugar spikes and drops aren't good for mental clarity, aren't good for physical performance. It's just a mess. So yeah, you don't want to really be adding any extra sugar to this oats. Rather just buy a big tub of peanut butter. So after you've had your oats for lunch, you can go on to dinner. So for your dinner, I would say beans. Beans are your best friend. Again, I haven't found anything that could be cheaper than this and still provide the amount of nutritional benefit that it can. Now, beans are much cheaper than any other kind of protein source, any other kind of energy source that I've found. If you can get them, I mean, I like just the simple baked beans that they put in some kind of tomato sauce kind of thing, which is probably not the best for you, but it's the easiest, it's the most convenient, and you still get the benefit of the beans. So if you don't really want to cook like a lot, then getting canned or baked beans is definitely a pro. And it's very cheap. And usually you can buy these in bulk. You usually find discounts where you buy a certain amount of tins and you get a discount off. If you can buy a big supply of that, like a month's supply at a time, you will save a lot of money. And yeah, definitely one of the best sources of both protein and carbs. The main ones you actually need for muscle building. Fat is not so important, but it can be for health reasons. So the next one is, that's not really a complete protein source, unfortunately. No plant protein is really a complete protein source. You usually have to mix two. You can mix like two types of different beans. I think it's like black beans and some other kind of legume could make a complete protein source in terms of amino acid profiling. But yeah, you really want to make sure that you get all your amino acids in, because amino acids have an all or nothing law. And that all or nothing law says no amino acids will be synthesized unless all 20 are available and present. So if you don't have, like, if you're missing one of those things, your body's not naturally going to synthesize the non-essentials either. So it is really important to make sure you get a complete protein source. Now, you can't do that if you are vegan, but if you are not vegan or vegetarian, consider going pescatarian and taking some canned tuna. So canned tuna, again, in terms of a complete protein source, nothing cheaper than it. I know a lot of people say there's like mercury issues and poisoning and all kinds of heavy metals inside the fish that we can today. But it is better than the synthetic hormones and the other stuff you get in saturated fats and all kinds of stuff you get in normal meats as well. So yeah, it's kind of like the lesser of the two evils, I would say. Plus, you're going to change it up. One day you'll eat beans, one day you eat canned tuna. Usually 2 cans of tuna will make it up. And that way you can just cycle it, and it'll be the cheapest way to do it. You can use 1 can of beans with the main kind of carb source that I'll be showing you just now, which everyone can probably guess. That main carb source is rice. So I have a bit of an empty packet of rice here. Now, contrary to popular belief, white rice is not the devil. You can actually eat white rice. I actually would say or suggest that you do, because it actually is more bioavailable. It's actually easier for your body to digest because it's been refined down to such a, the same could be said for sugar. I get it, but it's better than sugar in that sense, because it still takes longer to digest than sugar. Sugar is just way too fast. Okay, white rice is still reasonable. And you want this because you'll be adding this for your dinner. And your dinner is usually where most people have that after their workout. So your receptors are all going to be ready to receive some kind of replenishment, some kind of carb, glycogen replenishment. So rice is actually a perfect substitute for that. Sugar could be too, but yeah, you eat way too much of it. Where rice at least fills you up as well. There's lots of fiber in here. It keeps you full. Even white rice will. And I suggest that it's actually better for bodybuilding than brown rice, because then it messes up your intermittent fasting cycle as well. If you eat brown rice, it takes so long to digest that your fasting cycle is now also influenced, and you're not really eating in an 8-hour window anymore. But if you eat white rice, that will be the case. In part of the video, we'll give you some extra tricks and tips. And basically, if you're vegan, then I would suggest, if you want a complete protein source, go for quinoa. most types of beans, and combining that with protein in quinoa apparently has the right, profile for getting the complete essential amino acids that are needed to synthesize the non-essentials. So yeah, quinoa. Instead of rice, buy quinoa, but that's more expensive. But I guess vegans are used to paying the extra price. So yeah, it's not preferable, but you would still save more money than you would normally. So quinoa. The next one, for making things more palatable, because I've not listed how to make these things taste any way that is actually decent. But with tuna, so of course you're gonna add either the beans or this tuna to the rice. And when you do that, you probably want to add some kind of mayonnaise. So not on top of the beans. The beans will save you a bit of money because you can just add that on top of the rice and that's it. People in really impoverished countries, beans and rice are like their staple, and it actually tastes decent. I mean, I eat it sometimes as well, and it's really not bad. That by itself is fine, especially when you get the ready-made baked beans version, tomato sauce. It's actually quite nice. So the next one would be how to make this palatable, because you're going to get this tuna, and I would suggest the oil version. Always get something filled with oil because it'll have more calories and it probably costs basically the same as the brine version that just comes with salt water. So always get the oil version, and when you do, you want to combine it with some kind of mayonnaise. So that'll just, it's like tuna mayonnaise and rice. That's the easiest way to make it palatable, and you actually want to eat it at least a little bit, especially when you've been fasting the entire day, or if you skip breakfast, you'll be wanting to eat this. I can promise you that. So what type of mayonnaise, you ask? Well, there are two types. You can either get normal mayonnaise, which is made with eggs or something else, some kind of powdered eggs even, or you can get vegan mayonnaise. And the difference between the two will actually surprise you. Now, I would actually suggest vegan mayonnaise. One, it is actually cheaper for some reason. Per gram, it is cheaper than normal mayonnaise, but it's also more nutritious. You actually get far more nutrition from vegan mayonnaise than you do from regular mayonnaise. And this is because they fortify the vegan mayonnaise with extra nutrients. So they've kind of overcompensated so far that this is actually a better option now than the regular mayonnaise. I can just list some things with the back here, and both of their protein content is negligible. This one says it's made with real eggs, but you look at the back, protein is negligible. It's under 1 gram per 100 grams. This one also under 1 gram per 100 grams. Really not much protein in either of these, so it's not your protein source, but you've got the tuna for that. So don't let the eggs fool you, thinking that there's more protein in here. There's also omega-6 fatty acids. So omega-6 fatty acids don't exist in normal mayonnaise. Usually they don't. Absolutely none in them. So you'll be getting that in here. You'll also be getting omega-3 fatty acids in here. And this regular mayonnaise, also has omega-3s, but the vegan version actually has about 1,200 micrograms more, which is a lot, because the total amount in the vegan is 6,000 grams. So, milligrams per gram, per 100 grams. So, if you really look at the two, you can obviously see that this is a way better option. There's a better omega-3 profile. There's basically almost the same amount of calories. There's less saturated fat in this as well, which is important to note. Saturated fat's very bad for circulation and recovery. You want to just avoid that stuff. That's also why I chose tuna, because it's also 50-50 between saturated fats and monounsaturated. So it's not going to harm you too badly. So yeah, vegan mayonnaise with your tuna. So know what you're thinking, right? all this is all fine and well, but where are the vegetables? You're probably thinking, well, Milan, I like this idea, but am I going to die of scurvy? And the answer is no. Because there are ways to counteract that. Most of the products that I've shown you actually have a great deal of micronutrients, especially that vegan mayonnaise that I showed you, because they fortified with basically everything. But the beans, the oats, and the tuna, they all have lots of micronutrients, everything that you would need for a balanced diet. But if you are concerned that you're not getting enough, and especially not enough antioxidants, to combat all these free radicals and things going around, then I would suggest that to calm your mind, rather take a supplement full of greens. So this is not exactly the cheapest thing, but if you are worried about nutritional value, buying this will still be cheaper than buying regular food. So buying this on top of the stuff that you just bought, that I've just showed you, that will still be cheaper than buying normal lean meats and vegetables. So it's still an option. So if you are worried about micronutrients, get a green supplement. I'd take it just because I like the antioxidants and it makes you feel good. Combined with a glass of apple juice and sugar down well, it tastes terrible without any kind of sugar. So definitely combine it in some apple juice and you're good to go. I know none of these items are kind of, something you haven't seen before. They're all items you're probably aware of, you've known about. But it's important to know that this is all you need to actually stay healthy and build muscle, right? I mean, you can look at me, I've been eating this way for a while, and it's not like I'm muscle wasting from it. So it's definitely effective, it definitely works. I definitely don't have any signs of health problems yet. So it is all very effective and it can basically keep you through. And it saves a lot of money. Food is actually a bigger expense than fuel these days if you're a bodybuilder. And yeah, fuel is exactly not in a great position either. So that's actually saying something, right? So we are in times where we do need to sometimes budget down, find cheaper means of doing things, and if you stick to these products that I've shown you, it'll definitely help you in that purpose. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next time.